Yo, YouTube, what's going on? AJ here, back at it again with another video. And in today's video, we're going to have to be real with everybody now, and we're going to get a little bit serious now about some things. So we have a video by another creator, Maggie, who put out a video called The State of Wuthering Waves Honest Review. But one thing I want to talk about if you clicked on this video is that as much as we praise the game, we also do criticize Wuthering Waves at times. And we don't unfairly criticize it, guys. We like to give fair critiques. That way the game can improve, the devs can listen. Because one of the things the devs do, and if you guys have heard me before, is I've talked about how they take what Global says as well as CN. They listen to all the opinions, right? And then they do sort of cater towards everybody. They're not unfair towards one side. They appreciate both sides of their community. And they always address issues, quality of life, or anything like that. However, I'm curious to hear, because the thumbnail did say, why are people losing interest in Wuthering Waves? I'm curious to hear somebody else's take. I'm going to give you my honest thoughts. We'll see if I agree with Maggie. We'll see if I disagree with Maggie. But if you like the content on the channel, make sure you hit a like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for the support. Without further ado, let's get into the video.
Wuthering Waves has almost been out for half a year now.
It's crazy.
Marketed as an alternative to Genshin Impact, WoWa put itself in front of a lot of expectation as well as competition. How is the game doing now? At this point, I've had plenty of time to play through all the content the game has to offer, and I wanted to take a step back to talk about the state of the game. Let's get into it. First things first, we need to be real. Like other open world gacha games that have a great launch, things aren't as rainbow and butterflies many months down the road. So, why are people losing interest in Wuthering Waves?
Before she gets into it, I'll give you my thoughts. I think it's because they're doing the same thing as Genshin Impact, but a little bit different. And one thing I want to get into, people are watching this right now, and hearing that statement is, I want you to let me cook for a second. The thing with Wuthering Waves, that's the issue, right, guys, is the fact that they've done things that Genshin could really never do. And I know it's the whole joke, Genshin could never. But aside from that, take the joke aspect out of it, right? The combat's amazing, right? It's much better. Boss fights are really fun, interactive. The open world traversal is much easier, right? The issue is we are getting such short, cycles. And what I mean by that is not short cycles, but it's very long cycles. You know what I mean? It's still that same standard. Hey, we give you a patch, you guys can complete it in 1 or 2 days. They do give us a lot of events, which is kind of a little bit different, but the events are even quick, right? It's just free rewards, free materials, and it's on to the next character. One of the things I've talked about in the future with gacha games is that I'm wondering, when are we getting that gacha game that's going to deliver big patches and be like, here's what I think. I'd almost want a gacha game where they drop content that's dude, it takes you a full week of playing nonstop, and then for the average person, it takes 2 to 3 weeks, right? And then not a month, but 2 months later, come out with, you know what I mean, another patch or something like that. But give us a huge chunk of content, that way we can be like, oh damn, we played a lot, you know what I mean? I'm excited for coming back 2 months later and stuff like that. I think you'd have to work ahead though. You'd have to have the game complete and then have I think 6 months to 8 months worth of content already planned out. You know what I mean? And I get that's hard on devs and stuff like that. And these are gacha games. But ultimately, guys, I think that same gacha cycle for all these games is starting to catch up to everybody right now.
To understand this, let's talk about the content and gameplay cycle. WoWa's general content offerings are familiar to the genre. You can explore and complete one-time puzzles for pinch amounts of resources, complete very quick daily tasks for rich rewards, and spend your daily energy on bosses or instances, both of which have trivial difficulty, in order to obtain materials to strengthen your characters. All of this to become strong enough for what is the current endgame, the Tower of Adversity, or TOA for short. TOA resets on a bi-weekly schedule, offering the largest amount of renewable premium currency earnable in-game outside of events and dailies. As it stands right now, the balancing of the floors requires roughly a level 80 main DPS for 3 different teams in order to earn the full rewards, meaning it is achievable within just over a month, which is the time it takes to get Union level 50. This is, of course, in terms of an FTP/low spender estimate. Swiping for limited character sequences and or weapons can over triple the damage output of a DPS, effectively allowing the content to be cleared even sooner. After Union level 60, level 90 is unlocked, making the DPS checks on floors much more lax. How lax? Well, I've played into resistant floors, as well as used a level 1 weapon on sequenceless 5-star units, and have still been able to get the full crests. So, for endgame players, the endgame is a bit undertuned, to say the least.
Okay, hold on. We're going to interject and call timeout here. There's a lot of people that I've seen on Twitter. Okay, if she's talking about it's undertuned, to say the least, as in it's not that hard, I want to say, right, that there are a lot of people who have done polls on YouTube, on Twitter, and I'm not speaking for the entire Wuthering Waves community, right? I'm not even speaking for my community, because even when I do tier lists and stuff like that, y'all be clearing, y'all be popping off. So I know my community, hey, y'all good at the game. I know that, right? But y'all have to understand, these are casual games, right? There's a lot of people who can't even clear these towers, so to say it's undercooked, now, I don't know if she's going to criticize Tower of Adversity for a different way, because I will say one of the most obnoxious things in the tower right now, and I think needs to get removed for endgame, they should make the bosses, like, if you guys remember when they nerfed Scar, they should unnerf Scar, release those type of bosses still, just remove the timer from Tower of Adversity. Just make it your 3-star, the qualification for 3-starring is to make sure all 3 of your units or your characters are alive and you beat the boss. That's it. You just got to keep them all alive. You know what I mean? Because that brings heavy value to sustains. That brings heavy value to team comps and the amount of damage you're going to put out. And I think if they were to do that and give us like crazy level bosses so we really understand the fight pattern, you know what I mean? I think a lot more people would be enjoying it, spending their time there, because now they don't have to worry about a timer in their back of the head saying, oh, I got to clear it within 3 minutes. No, now they get to focus on the fight, and I swear it's more fun that way. But who knows? Maybe Kuro will take that and, listen to this advice and do something with it. Maybe not. I feel like that's something we got to get a lot of creators to start saying and talking about, you know what I mean? But let's hear her out.
In addition to this repeatable endgame content, there are also one-time challenges for players, the Overdrive Tower and Holograms. The Overdrive Tower is a set of additional TOA floors that, rather than capitalizing on Wua's satisfying boss battles, is loaded with trash mobs. It features buffs tailored to push the requirement of certain limited units, which, while the floors can be completed without, leads to a much more frustrating experience. When completed with the intended units, the DPS requirements on these floors has as much leeway as the normal tower, with players being able to clear it in less than half the allotted time, despite this being one-time challenge content. Next, holograms are one-time boss challenges that are incredibly punishing. The timer on these is nearly a non-factor, and the fights are more about survival than a DPS check. To put the DPS requirement in a nutshell, I went through all the highest difficulty holograms, clearing in around half the allotted time or less. With a single character and no food buffs. I had a lot of fun with this content, but the challenge I've put myself to...
But the question I want to ask is, Maggie, if you ever see this or someone sends you this, did you use echoes? Did you cheat and use echoes? See, me personally, I can... No, I'm just kidding. But guys, truly, I did complete all the holograms besides Inferno Rider, right? No, I did beat Inferno Rider, but my whole thing was to beat them all with Chang Li, practically just solo them with Chang Li, no food buffs, no echoes used. I did that for the main 6 or whatever it was, 5, right? Then Inferno Rider came out, and we all know I couldn't use Chang-Li, so I had to use that Jinsei and Jeja and Shorekeeper. Y'all, if you haven't seen it, check it out, bro. You'll know what video it is. It's called I Hate Inferno Backshots, okay? Y'all know. It's a crazy thumbnail and title.
Is completely artificial. Players can take advantage of food buffs, revival items, energy stacking, and of course, actually using a whole team to overcome these challenges much easier. However, I definitely stand by this content being Wuwa's shining example of gameplay,
I agree.
as it highlights what Wuwa is best at. Challenging boss fights requiring you to parry and perfectly dodge attacks, as opposed to bad auto-targeting and trash mob management. So let's do a quick recap. The repeatable endgame content has a low bar to be cleared, and the non-repeatable content, while some of it is good, doesn't have much higher requirements to be cleared.
Right.
This leads to an endgame of developing your characters and echoes to be the best, only to crush the content you're already crushing more. I understand that this might be a touch grass moment, as not all players spend as much time optimizing rotations. Casual, accessible content.
Not much player. Okay, let me explain to you something. Let me explain to you guys something. Yo, Maggie is a sweet, nice person. You can kind of tell, you know what I mean? But yeah, that is a touch grass moment. Not much. I would say 95% of the community doesn't do this. They just build it, look up a guide, build the build, right? Get their character to max level, just play the way they want to play. They clear it, they have fun. You know what I mean? I would say 5% of people are optimizing rotations. 1%, maybe even less than that, which is the Maggies of the world, are doing spreadsheets, guys. You know what I mean? And she's really good at the game from what I understand, too. You know what I mean? She knows what she's talking about. So, definitely, yeah. It's definitely a touch of grass moment.
It is a good thing, right? Yes, and also, well, no. Remember that this game is targeting an audience that has mostly already indulged in Genshin, which hits a similar endgame niche as Wuwa. Both of them being casual open world games means that there are a lot of people who ultimately lose interest in it when they realize it's just the same base formula for the game.
I agree.
Now, I'm obviously not one of these people, as I'm still covering the game and having fun with the combat, which I think is great. But do understand that this isn't enough to keep everyone interested, and I just want to be real here. When playing Wuwa's ZBT,
I also think that one thing she's not hinting at that me and her and other people who play Wuthering Waves like is the end game sort of like combat and the difficulty of it, guys. One of the things I've noticed about Wuthering Waves, though, is that this is a factor that I didn't take into consideration on launch. If you look at one of the main things why Genshin is successful, Genshin's combat is ridiculously easy and visually it looks nice. You know what I mean? Now, visually, Kuro Games' combat, it visually looks nice and it is satisfying to play. However, I've noticed that a lot of gacha players, right? Half of them, I would say, about don't even play other games, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And they want to have this like casual, fun experience. And they don't want to go through something that's stressful, hectic, or challenging. And that's one other factor I never took into consideration, that even though we all wanted combat, right? The Wuthering Waves players, right? I started to understand from the casual standpoint, people just want to have a fun time and chill. The one thing I'm wondering is, when are we going to get a gacha that's like amazingly built up, you know what I mean? And that just advertises more and more co-op. And I know Wuwa is doing that with their co-op events now and stuff like that, but I would want some permanent end game, you know what I mean, for co-op to play with the buddies or matchmake and stuff like that. But I don't know, these are just my honest thoughts of the game.
I was also skeptical about the game, and was worried it reached the same state of endgame. But it really can't be helped, can it? Gacha games, or pay-to-win games that have somehow become acceptable in the West, just can't be too competitive in the content.
That's true.
Or you'll end up with something like Tower of Fantasy, where power creep is endless, and being a multiplayer game has to balance the DPS in raids to largely beat out through mechanics rather than normal means.
Oh,
or
that
else
is true.
FTPs are
She's not wrong.
useless. It wouldn't be too far of a stretch to say that the real endgame in Wuthering Waves is not just 30 out of 30 tower, but rather community focused. Like, just little things such as showing off your builds and Echo RNG, or doing funny clear challenges like solos with unexpected characters. As such, I wanted to do my part in helping to kindle the interest for indulging in what WUA has to offer past the base game. For the next several weeks, I'll be hosting a weekly themed challenge where the fastest clear times as well as random participants win some codes that give astrites, shell credits, and more. We'll also review the best clears on our weekly reset stream on Monday, and watch all the cool tech people cook up. The first weekly challenge will be Light versus Dark,
Cool.
to clear Hologram 6 with Havoc Rover solo. In these challenges, there will be no food involved, no energy pre-charging, and no pre-buffing. The full rules, including where to submit runs, can be seen in my Discord. For future characters, there will be some form of balancing to account for different sequence nodes and weapons. Though it'll be tricky to calculate, we'll figure something out. Anyways, these have just been my thoughts about the game after several months. I wanted to address the good and the bad, and see where we could go next as a community. That's all for now. I'll be looking forward to the submissions for the event. See you guys next time. Bye bye.
Definitely great video. Check out Maggie, Wuwa TC, Wuwa Calx Girl does a really good job. I think she had some great points. I think if you made it to the end of this video and you're wondering, is Wuthering Waves ever gonna go EOS or anything like that? No, Wuthering Waves will never be end of service. But I think the one thing that all of us kind of misjudged is we thought Wuthering Waves would be super ridiculously popular. Hype is there, and it is still a pretty big game, but ultimately I think Wuthering Waves, and I think you've seen games like ZZZ, the numbers and traction is going down. Wuthering Waves has its ups and downs right now, you know what I mean? I think Wuthering Waves will always still be relevant for the foreseeable future, but I don't think it'll be the biggest gacha game right now. If I was to eye what's after, like aside from HSR, right, and Genshin, but like what's after, like what's the next like HSR level game or higher, right? I'm definitely looking forward towards Azure, Pamelia, Neverness to Everness right now. But let me know your thoughts about everything that she said. Good video by her. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you like this type of content. Let me know down in the comments below what your thoughts are on what the state of Wuthering Waves. And I'm out. Peace.